Here's a few news stories that I saw. Um, this is pretty interesting. Elon Musk tweets so much that you can tell when he's asleep. And when they make a chart, it's pretty amazing. Here's by years. He bought Twitter here, so here we know. And he claims to sleep from like 3 in the morning until like 10 in the morning. But as you can see, in the last year or two, he's sleeping almost not at all. And, this sort of matches his increasing sort of craziness as he pushes his Nazi regime. By the way, it's exactly fascist. I heard an interesting podcast today of history. It's claiming, giving the definition of fascism from Mussolini, who falsely put his name on it. It was developed by an Italian political scientist earlier, or philosopher, and it is exactly this, union of a powerful government with a corporation to funnel all the money to the rich and trample the poor, which is what Bernie is calling oligarchy, probably another good word for it. But it's amazing how much this has all happened before. There's nothing new about what they're doing. Even the focus on immigrants and the claim that there's government waste is all part of it. These are standard excuses used to oppress the poor.
Let's hope they don't go mess with the economy.
Well, they're already destroying the economy.
Because of the tariffs.
Yeah.
With these virtual currency that they're pushing.
Well, the virtual currencies, I think, are probably also harmful, although less so. But the main thing about virtual currencies is that the markets are totally unregulated. So you can totally get away with fraud and pump and dump and bribery in a way that you can't in the more regulated normal markets. That's the advantage of them.
Well, at the very least, you take the trust of people in the system.
That's right.
The very minimum.
That's right. And I think, the dollar has been the world currency because people trust the U.S. government to be stable, and they're destroying that in a hurry.
For example, in Ecuador, the president adopted completely the virtual currency as a national currency.
No, that was El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Yeah, in El Salvador. And the problem is, well, he was betting that the price would go up, and the price did not go up. If the price had gone up, he would be a hero. He would have solved all their problems. But since the price didn't go up, and they continue to have a terrible economy, he had to go to the IMF to get money. And the IMF, International Monetary Fund, said they'll only give him money if he guarantees not to put it in Bitcoin. And he got the money, and he is putting it in Bitcoin. Yeah. So, and of course, in the long run, I think he's right. Bitcoin will go up. But it still, this is the kind of...
It depends if there is a project behind that is geared to create value or not. Because now there are these three levels. Now we have the third level of Bitcoin, the meme coin.
Oh, well, there's three, right. Bitcoin is the most stable, most reasonable. Then there is Ethereum, and then there are meme coins are the lowest value. The meme coins. Yeah, the altcoins are in the middle, and the meme coins are the worst, based on absolutely nothing. That's right. So logically, Bitcoin is where you might justify a Bitcoin reserve, but him including other coins in it makes him even much less reliable. But even investing in Bitcoin is still extremely unwise because it's completely unregulated. And there's a reason why we have all the financial regulations, because there's tons of manipulation and fraud.
Oh, well, yeah, banks allegedly were created to avoid usury, the people lending money to a very high interest.
Yeah, that's why it's part of why they're regulated. Yeah, it's part of why they're regulated. Yeah, and they also have to have a cash reserve, and there's all kinds of rules, and Bitcoin has none of that.
I was going to say just another thing when I mentioned El Salvador. So El Salvador seems that things more or less are steady. Don't go up, don't go down. But in Argentina, instead, the experiment is failing because after a spike, now the virtual currency is going down, and Milei himself is under investigation for what is traffic of influence.
That's right. That's right. So it's he doesn't seem to be much less corrupt than the previous dictators.
Nancy, this goes back to your concern at the beginning. Nancy, from political perspective, but I think we have also on the practical side messy projects that are not thought through. They want to create chaos.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about fascism is that it's only short term. It's a way for people to basically steal money in the short term, and of course it causes long-term problems, which is why it will collapse. Anyway, so as you know, Trump, just like he did last time, he's erasing a whole bunch of information from the internet. Anything to do with gender ideology or climate change or other topics he doesn't like is just removed. So archivists have recreated the pre-Trump CDC website and hosting it in Europe, which is what has to happen. Last time Trump was here, we tried to smuggle the government data out of the country to a safe country like Canada, where it wouldn't be destroyed. Because destroying the climate data is something they very much want to do, so they can say there's no global warming and other data they'd like to remove. So at least one website has been preserved. And a French university will now fund American scientists who flee seeking asylum because their research is no longer allowed in America, which is a lot of research. They're cutting everything, anything that has diversity or gender or any of like a bunch of forbidden words is gone. And so the French government is going to fund a group of scientists for that.
The first general cut is to social sciences first, in general. And then in social sciences they're picking up this.
Yeah, but they've also been hitting weather science and medicine. And with RFK in charge, RFK said he wants to stop all research into infectious disease for 8 years. He wants to totally ignore that and focus on chronic disease. And like many of these things, there is some truth in that. Anybody can tell you the main problem with Americans is to eat too much and get fat. So that's probably the most important thing to worry about. But ending all research in infectious disease does not really mean you're getting more accomplished on these other things. But he's right that we should focus on that preventing disease more. But it's not a zero-sum thing where you can't do one as well as the other. And so the paramilitary groups that are going to be Trump's Hitler Youth are the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. And in January, a group hacked into them somehow, and they dumped all their chat logs and recordings from them, including the American Patriots, 3%, and the Oath Keepers. So it's a huge block of data. And this is from Michael Lee, a very good journalist. And we've learned from previous dumps that if you just dump 200 gigabytes of stuff and hand it to a journalist, they can't do anything with it. They don't know how to do it. So they're trying to connect it with a search engine and go through it and find the good stuff, which is what has to happen. This is what WikiLeaks did. WikiLeaks would just dump it, and then mostly people couldn't use it. So he's going to write a whole series of articles about it, and I think this will be quite useful. And it'll also be interesting as a canary in the coal mine to see what happens to him, because this is exactly the stuff that Trump will try to suppress. He will not want this information coming out because these are the people he loves. And so he has felt very much that he needs to control the media and censor it and silence the voices that say things he doesn't want said. So we'll see to what extent he can do that here. So far, he has not moved in with force to force anybody shut down. He's been able to just influence them with threats. So Washington Post has just gone pro-Trump. Everybody else has just meekly submitted in advance because they figured they don't want to be cut out of getting government money and such.
Why? Is a journalist on the WAPO on Washington Post?
Oh yeah, that Washington Post.
Is she Mika is a
No, he's not. He's not in the Washington Post. He's independent. Yeah. And I think he's independent. He's certainly not part of the Washington Post. And so the question will be what pressure can be brought on him. And they're probably going to be able to find some way to pressure him. What Nixon did is he would audit your taxes and stuff like that and just harass you with the government. So they have ways to pressure you. And then they find like some family member that is got a drug problem or something, and they threaten to lock them up unless you shut up and things like that,
No, but even if they want to sue you for, you haven't done anything, they want to sue you for a fee.
Yeah.
But the state, that there's an immense amount of money that
Yeah.
will come after you, instead you have to pay your lawyer. And
That's
so they
right.
bankrupt you. So
That's right. And that's how Trump and Elon do everything. They sue people all the time because they have large coffers, and people will just give up because they can't afford to pay the lawyers. Exactly. All right. And so anyway, however, Trump did it again. He did this all the time in his first term. He said that Elon Musk was in charge of Doge, and Elon Musk was there and accepted his praise and took a bow. And of course, about 2 weeks ago, they said Elon Musk is not in charge of Doge because that would make him legally liable for what Doge is doing, and he has no authority to do anything he's doing. So it's crime for him to shut down all these things and block all this government money. So they tried to pretend somebody else was in charge who doesn't even know what's happening. But Trump contradicted it, so lawyers have already filed suit saying this public testimony of Elon being in charge of Doge makes him liable, and so we'll see what comes of that. But that's even somewhat logical. Anyway, let me stop at the news.